Sydney Fizzard for Rebel News here in downtown Calgary, Alberta, for a press conference being put on by the leader of the official opposition here in Canada, Pierre Poilievre. Now, this press conference was focused on the budget. The announcement this year of Prime Minister Mark Carney and the Liberal Party's budget for Canada, the spending is blown way out of proportion into the bad spending that we already had under the previous leader, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The deficit is $78 billion. It could get up to $100 billion. And what does this mean for the long-term status of Canada's nationhood? Can we survive when the RCMP is putting out secret dossiers suggesting that Canadians may revolt once we realize how broke we are? Well, that's the question I had for the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre. And I just want to add that right outside the press conference, there was literally a homeless man bathing himself. The door for the conference is literally right behind. That is the state of Canada.
After 10 years of Liberal inflation, they've doubled housing costs, doubled lineups at food banks, and what do you know? That coincided with them doubling the national debt. When you borrow and print money, you drive up the cost of everything and destroy the working class. Now, for the first time in the history of Canada, our young people cannot afford homes. We have an entire generation of youth who believe they will never be able to afford a place to live. Food bank lineups are up to 2.2 million. CBC was trying to comfort us just yesterday with a news story saying, hey, good news, you can get more affordable food if you go to this special shopping mart where they sell you food that's past the best before date. 20% of Canadians are skipping bills because they have to put the money to higher grocery costs.
After 10 years of this Liberal government, home ownership is unattainable. You can ask any of the young Canadians, where a majority of them have just given up on home ownership altogether. This country used to be a place where certainly my family, when we moved here, and subsequent years after that, even as a home builder, until the Liberals took over, one income could get you a good living. You would be able to scrap money together and save up for a down payment. But after 10 years of the Liberals, all of that is gone. That Canadian dream of being able to owning a home, raising a family, it's all gone. And it's because the cost of everything has just skyrocketed.
This budget does nothing to deal with the cost of living crisis that Canadians are enduring right now, because it just piles on more debt that fuels the inflation that is driving up the cost of living. At $78.3 billion, this is nearly double the deficit that less than a year ago was considered to be so high that it precipitated a crisis in the resignation of the last finance minister.
To be a AA rated country, on average, your debt to GDP is 49.6%. Carney's on track to double to bring ours to nearly 100%. In other words, our debt as a share of GDP will be almost twice the size of the average AA country. That's the kind of fiscal mess that Mark Carney and the Liberals are creating. So much for he's gone from promising to be a brilliant economist to being the most costly, reckless, and risky Prime Minister in Canadian history. And that is why Conservatives will oppose it. But we not only oppose, we propose. Our proposal is to cut bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, handouts to phony refugees, and other wasted money so we can bring down debt, taxes, and inflation. We would get rid of the industrial carbon tax to unlock the industrial engine of our nation and to reduce the price of everything.
Sydney Fizzard with Rebel News. Last year it was reported RCMP published a secret report suggesting Canadians may revolt once we realize how broke we are. This year, under Prime Minister Carney, we're approaching a $100 billion deficit. How close are Canadians to a breaking point?
Well, many are already broken. That's not the only report. The Liberal government there was a leaked report that came out through Blacklocks. It got very little media coverage, but it said basically liberal policies had us on track so that Canadians will have to forage and hunt for food because they can't afford groceries. Like, this is in Canada. This is the talk that you would expect in an impoverished, overpriced, third world economy. But that is the trajectory that the Liberals have us on. And this costly credit card budget of Mark Carney will make that even worse. Canadians can't afford life. They are absolutely desperate. Go into our streets and talk to people. Ask them about their lives. Their lives are falling apart because they cannot afford this costly government. And it is leading to major breakdown. Go onto the street not far from here, there's an encampment where people who've lost hope and have been broken are now addicted to fentanyl and are dying face first on the pavement on our streets. These are the real issues. This is why I'm in politics, to fight to give back the promise of our country that every single Canadian, whether they're a waitress, a welder, or a businessman, can have a good plate of food every single night, live in a nice house on a safe street. That's why we're in this business.
Let me know in the comments, how much money do you think the Canadian federal government can spend before the country collapses? For Rebel News, I'm Sydney Fizzard. RebelFieldReports.com is where you have to go if you want to support our independent journalism, on-the-ground coverage of events like this and questions to leaders of this country. If you want to support our work, go to RebelFieldReports.com.